is while I'm sitting at home, staring at the ceiling, just wishing that I had someone to talk to, is knowing that none of you idiots realize how lucky you are.
Lately, I've been seeing more and more of these videos pop up, probably by the nature of YouTube. You click on one thing and that's all it shows you from now on. But I've been seeing a video like this one. As I've said, I've seen a lot of posts like this, and it's heartbreaking. Because part of the problem is you know that people are out there hoping to find someone who might be you. Maybe it's not, but regardless, and they can't, right? And if you're there and someone else is another place, and both of you have the same problem, there's a pretty easy solution if you can actually get those two people together. And the fact that people can't, again, it's heartbreaking. You don't want to see people suffering. So I would like to address this problem. So for all of the videos I show, I'm going to put the information down on the bottom of the video so you can go find it if you want to watch it. Obviously, don't harass anyone. The key aspect here that I'm seeing more and more is that women are being upset that men aren't asking them out. And it's a problem society has created for itself, which you can see quite well illustrated right here.
To act the right way.
Gillette actually pulled the video down, I don't know when, recently.
I would like to comment on this bear situation because I was chased by a bear. In the woods, alone. I meet all the qualifications to comment on. The bear stopped. It stopped in its tracks. We stared at each other for about 5 seconds, and then you know what? The bear left. The bear left. Keep it pushing.
If you're getting rude, you can leave. Nobody was looking at you any type of way. I don't own the gym, I work here. Yes. And if you're getting rude, then you can leave.
That means what?
I can call the police and have you trespass right now. Would you like that?
Go ahead.
Okay, cool.
Go ahead, let him know.
That's what we'll do. So right now, I need you to take your stuff and head up front. Like she said, you can do something. We got everything.
I'm literally shaking right now because I just had a man approach me in a parking lot and it went fine, and I'm going to tell you why it went fine and how to address it, because it was in a book I read and this is how you're supposed to address it, but it scared me. He's excuse me miss, and I don't know why in the hell he was approaching me or what he was trying to do. And before he was probably 30 feet from me when he said, excuse me ma'am, and I turned around and I literally yelled at him and I said, do not approach me. And he immediately started going in the other direction, and I just kept saying it over and over and over. I said, do not approach me. Do not approach me. No male should ever approach a woman in a parking lot. Ever. No male should ever approach a woman in a parking lot. And if a male does approach you, you need to turn around and use the strongest voice that you can possibly use with them. Don't be polite. They need to literally screw off.
Things like that are good illustrations of what a person has to worry about in the worst case. It used to be, worst case, you approach someone, you get a slap. No big deal. Or they just turn you down. All of these perfectly normal, perfectly reasonable things. The slap, not so much, because that's assault and you can get arrested for that. So don't go slapping people just for things that they've said. So we have this problem. We're not going to get into whose fault it is. We're not going to do the whole stupid blame the other gender thing and perpetuate the gender war into infinity as always. We're going to try and find solutions to the problem to help yourself get what you would like. Okay? Whether you're a guy, you're a girl, these are the things that if we all start doing, we'll be better off. Dating apps are not the solution. Basically, everyone who isn't just looking for short-term things, take that dating app, throw it away. You're wasting your time. You're causing yourself stress. You're exacerbating the problem by feeding into all these delusions and all these other things that people start getting from having the dating apps. And because I see the same people there who were there, 6 or 7 years ago. And that includes myself, those same people who would have been like, hey, you seem like a nice person. I've matched with you. I'm not going to bother having a conversation with you. Guy or girl, that's happening. So you've got to stop it. And the best thing to do is just put that aside and meet people in reality. So you don't have to worry about false personas or you misreading a text, because at the end of the day, it's you, the reader, putting the tone into the text. As much as someone might want to try and clearly convey what they're saying in the way that they intend it, that's not how it works. Like, we all know that. Something that they say is innocuous, we might take offense to. Or something that they intend as an offense, we might take as a compliment. We can't tell the tone. And emojis and all those other things, they can help, but there's also connotations around those. Like, anyway, the number of rules and ridiculous things about online dating and messaging and stuff, just don't bother with it. It's clearly not helping people. You get the odd person who it works out for, but that's not the majority of the people. The majority of people who it does work out for are the people who are willing to take risks. And who are those people? The ones who are just out there for the sex. And then they meet someone, they get to know them, they build a relationship with them, whether that's what they intended to or not at the start, that's how it ends up. And you can't go into something backwards like that if your goal is finding that relationship. You want to actually pursue your goal the whole way through. Anyway, the cognitive dissonance is a whole other thing. Anyway, I digress. So back to what I was talking about. So, for starters, making yourself available. If you're at home, like myself, I work from home, where am I going to see people? Pretty much nowhere. The grocery store, the mall. If you guys even shop, because a lot of stuff can be purchased online, you don't even have to leave. You have to take the effort and go out there. Are you going to ask people out of the gym? I don't think so. That's a recipe for disaster. But it doesn't have to be that way. We've made it that way. We can unmake it. We can fix the problem and go from there. So, for starters, make yourself available. What does that mean? Well, it means being other places where the kind of people that you would like to date might be. So maybe if you're a big sci-fi fan, you're going to be going to the expos. You're an anime fan, same sort of things. Video games, there are video game events, video game stores. Go to those places in person. It'll help the stores and those local businesses out for sure. But it means that you're now in a place where those other people are, and now, whether or not it works out, there starts to be the opportunity for these conversations, right? Because everyone, so when you go to school, you're in a community of people. Your fellow students, people above your grade, in your grade. If you're doing, track meets or something, you're going to be meeting students at other locations, people your age, people with similar interests. We don't have that so much as adults. You have that in the workplace, which realistically we'd have to change the mindset that that's unprofessional to have workplace relationships. I know some places have already started doing that, but it still is fundamentally not necessarily the best idea to pursue a workplace relationship. So you have to do these other places. So you find those things. Maybe you start an activity. Maybe you really like soccer, basketball, all of these co-ed things. When your friend invites you to go do something, out on the town. Go do that thing with your friend. They're your friend after all. And also, maybe you run into someone that is a mutual friend you think is cute. Fantastic. That's a conversation starter. But once you're at the event, now that you've made yourself accessible, you're in a place where other people are. The next thing is making yourself approachable, and that's doing things like leaving things for people to comment on who have similar interests, like giving them an opening to start a conversation. Because the reality is these days, if you see a stranger on a train and you want to just chat with them, half the people are going to act like you've just committed a crime by daring to talk to them. I mean, people will get offended when homeless people talk to them. They're still people. You know, maybe you can't have the best of conversations with them. Absolutely, just like anyone else, you have to be careful about what's going on. But at the end of the day, people are there, whether you acknowledge them or not, whether you talk to them or not. So have a conversation. It's not the end of the world. So you make yourself approachable. You give people those things. Maybe it's a backpack. Maybe you're a Pokemon fan. I'm sorry, I'm not. Again, work from home. Don't get out much. I don't really know what's in these days. But you find that thing that you really like. You give people that in. Okay? To have a conversation about something you want to have a conversation about. So you have that in, unlike on online dating, where people will put something in their profile and they'll be like, oh, all everyone ever says is the same message to me. It's like, well, you wrote 3 things in your profile. Anyway, you have to expect that people are going to then try and have a conversation about that. Maybe they're not the person that you want to have a chat with about it, but if you do, guess what? Your voice carries. Maybe someone else will want to say, hey, I want to join in this conversation too. Maybe they just sit silently, and then when the other person leaves, they'll come up and be like, you're pretty cool, you know that, right? Anyway, you make yourself available, you make yourself approachable, and the other thing is you have to show interest, man or woman. And I know the big problem is for men, there's a big risk associated with if they show any interest at all. So we can either live our lives trying to appease a society that isn't really reflective of society's actual desires. We actually have to, no, I need to go deal with the squash. I'll be right back. Okay, squash dealt with. So once you're there, you're out in the open, people are around you, someone you might be interested in. You see that person, you have to be able to show interest. We can all pretend that we don't notice them and hope they come along to see us. But you know what? Clearly that isn't working, and given this bar that we've set, we have to exceed that threshold to be able to make people feel comfortable. So if you're a lady, especially, and you want a guy to approach you, these days you're going to have to be a little bit more forward. We can complain about the reality as much as we want. We can try to fix it, but at the end of the day, the only thing we can do is deal with what we have at present. So in order to do that, you've got to, it doesn't have to be big things. You don't even have to necessarily approach the guy. Same with the guys, is if you just, a lot of ladies haven't done that before. So you have to make yourself you make yourself approachable, but you have to be able to show interest, or else why would they throw themselves out there? And ladies, I encourage you to do this more, because if you want that happy ending, you have to try and put the effort in yourself as well if they're not doing. Because, the opportunities are there. We don't live forever. So you have to take the opportunities when they're there. Maybe all of them don't pan out, but at least you tried. Right? So it doesn't have to be big. Again, you don't necessarily have to ask them out. All you have to do is show interest. If you see them, give them a smile. You can do that. Let yourself do that sort of cutesy, flirty, coy thing that I can't do it, right? Don't do that. You'll probably get arrested. What I just did. I'm just kidding. Anyway, the point is you actually have to put yourself out there. You take the risk to look ridiculous because the benefit outweighs the cost. Looking ridiculous, sure, we do that all the time. People all the time say we're dumb. We might be that person who gets thrown up on the internet for all to see and for people to shame. But you know what? Even in those cases, even if that person is the worst person in the world, who literally does all of those crazy chauvinistic things, the people who just say say you go up and smack someone's butt, right? Don't do that. But say you did that, and you get blasted online, someone in the comments is going to be on your side. They might even be single. The point is that no matter how bad it goes, there's that chance that one person is the person you're talking to, right? Where that person is somewhere around and says, you know what? That guy or that girl is really trying her best. I find them attractive. Maybe I'm going to, go over there and chat with them. Maybe I'll ask them out. And that doesn't even have to be the first step. All right. So I digressed again. So you find that person, you show interest to them. So how do you actually approach this? What's a good way of doing this? Well, what I would do or have done in the past is you go up, you introduce yourself, and then you either have that discussion again about something that they're doing, or maybe you're fortunate enough to have a situational occurrence that can create a rapport. Like you're standing in line at a coffee shop, someone calls their name, you happen to have their same name. Say the barista spills the coffee, and now you can have a chat about that. Or maybe you end up talking about how absurdly hot the coffee is. Anyway, the point is, if you introduce yourself, that's a start. You've started that conversation. Maybe it goes nowhere, but that's miles, that's thousands of % closer than you would be just sitting there and hoping for that once in a lifetime event where someone crashes into you unexpectedly and you fall in love and, right off into the sunset. So you start off, hi, I'm so-and-so. Nice to meet you. Do you come here often? As ridiculous as it may be, it doesn't matter as long as you're doing it, right? And then you can let it go from there. Because a conversation, contrary to what online dating people might think, a conversation requires two parties. You're not just talking at someone, the other person gets to contribute as well, or has to contribute, depending on whether they talk way too much or not enough. You can literally talk about anything. If you have a goal in mind, go for that goal. Say, hey, can I have your phone number? Or, hey, would you like to go grab some coffee? Or maybe it's close to Valentine's Day, or regardless, you just decide, you know what, maybe I'll give them some chocolate. Or if you give them a flower, it's kind of hard to mask, and then it makes a bit of a scene. People will make a scene regardless. Some people are just assholes, and they'll be like, oh my God, what do you do? Anyway, let's not focus on those people. And just because that's the reality, we have to accept it. That happens, you just be like, oh, I'm sorry. Sorry, I was going to say something mean. But yes, anyway, you just say, I'm sorry. I thought you were someone else. Anyway, moving on. And then you can embarrassedly walk out of wherever you are. And that's for just a casual encounter in the middle of nowhere. But if you do something like, and I know time-wise, work-wise, the economy, it makes it difficult for people to get into this situation. It makes it more difficult for people to start commitments. But if you do a regularly occurring activity, it gives you the opportunity to meet people, but also get to know them in person. So it's not like online dating. You don't go through that whole rigmarole of texting someone one word a day for weeks, only to find out they're nothing like what you imagined, and so have no interest in them, right? You're starting at a normal position. You already know you like the person. You're getting to know them. You're taking the time. That's probably the easiest path. But again, not everyone can do that. Some people live in small towns, right? Lots of people live in small towns. Not one specific small town, but there are a lot of small towns out there. Once you're in those positions, you can then build from there. So if you're asking that person out at the mall or wherever it is, maybe, and that's the thing is with the internet, with everyone being more isolated, especially after the pandemic, we have to get more comfortable with giving people that space to be foolish, to ask someone out. You can't just go to the police every time or take a video of someone who's just trying to get to know you and then putting them on the internet to try and shame them in front of millions of people, right? We have to give people the space to try. And that's not how it is right now. So at least what we can do is do that for the specific occurrences in which it happens. For example, when I was at the grocery store, someone started making a play and started making very specific comments. It was not a good play. I was not interested, but it was amusing, and I have to give her props for trying at least. She was making comments about, oh, hey, to said other coworker about what her ideal man would be, and then was like proceeding to immediately describe my existence. Anyway, at the time. So, like I said, it was amusing. But if that happens, the best thing you can do is say, I appreciate it, I'm not interested. As a guy, you probably just have to politely ignore them. And because if you make that comment, suddenly you're putting words in my mouth, man. What are you doing? And if they react that way, maybe their manager's there and you get banned from the grocery store, of which there is only one in town, and you can no longer return. Have fun starving. When in reality, it would probably be a harassment anyway. Anyway, the point is we need to give people the ability to make those mistakes, to try, to make fools of themselves. And if you're going to reject them in a way that encourages them to try again with someone else, right? So if you were a lady, something that I would like to hear as a man is, thank you, but I am not interested. Basically, I appreciate that you're showing interest in me, but I don't reciprocate that. Or if you're seeing someone, and that's another problem these days. One of the biggest problems. So once upon a time, One of the things that would have been a great indicator of whether or not someone was taken was a ring. Not just anyone, but specifically this finger here. Right? You had engagements and weddings. So if you have had a ring, it was a clear sign you're taken, you're spoken for, right? Now, most people don't even get married. Or if they do, they spend a massive amount of time dating as opposed to being engaged. And you don't have that indicator anymore. So that means that your failure rate is going to be a lot higher. Good news for people, though, because of this problem, the amount of people who are single is astronomical compared to what it used to be. So chances are the person that you're going to be asking out is single. And then the next most likelihood is, because it's not just, so you've got engaged, you've got married, you have single, and you have the people who are dating. Anyway, so the point is we need to figure out a way of indicating that we're single. So my thought was something like this, which if you don't know what this is, don't worry about it. But you need something to be able to demonstrate to people that you are available and worth approaching. Like I said, showing interest is the best way to do it right now. That's what you can do now and have someone understand. But if we did have something like that, lapel pin, a streak of neon green hair, something. Anyway, whatever it is, if we had that thing in society again, your problems would be quite small by comparison. It would make the approachability thing way easier. But again, what you can do now is what we've been talking about. Make yourself available, make yourself approachable, show interest. Okay? That's 3 things. That's all it takes, right? Just to get you started. Whether you're asking someone out, you're getting their phone number, because the thing about introducing yourself is it's pretty innocuous. You introduce yourself, maybe someone's confused, but if they're interested, you can probably gauge that by their response and then continue. If they're not interested, they might just be like, yeah, okay, f*** off. We're not going to solve the problem overnight. I would love to. I would love to just be like, psh, psh, this is what we're doing. This is the way it is. Chances are no one even sees this video, but you have those things that you can do. Hopefully this helps you out. Hopefully you can find someone and live that happily ever after, because again, the way things are going right now, if you're relying on online dating, it's probably not going to happen, right? Even the folks who are going on dates, they're not getting off the app. So that's this video. I don't want to talk about this again. Hopefully you all apply it and you can make use of it. And otherwise, good luck, everyone. I'm sorry if you are here and having trouble. And see you later.